talks about the kick and the snare. So let's move on to the snare. Of course, I've got a snare roll here, just like I've done with the kick, but just the snare. Cool. So let's mute this. This is, yep. So as you can see, I've got the center plug in here. So I'm using like similar techniques on the snare as to the kick as well. So here you can see I've been really picky with the frequencies again. Whoa, that changed a lot. Wow, this chain does a lot. Okay, so let's listen to the snare roll. This is in the sample pack as well, the snare roll. There's no processing, just minus 10 dB, like I've done on everything. So when I listen to samples, I like to listen to characteristics. So I like this characteristic, but I don't like the low end, so I'll take the low end out. Like, it may sound great with everything, all the frequencies in when you're writing the song, but it can sound a bit messy when you really start to dig down on the mixing. So yeah, the main thing about this EQ is actually the fundamental, how narrow that bandwidth is. In fact, let's just A/B it. Remember, this is a layer, so this is part of the snare. So it sounds like more of a full snare when I turn it off. But I just wanted the characteristic that I liked about this snare. So the main thing is that it sounds a lot weaker, just because of the low end taken out. So you may not notice that if you're listening on bad headphones. So this is another layer. So as you can see, I've got a lot of gates. Here. So like I said earlier, you can actually control the dynamic envelope of this of the layer. So I'm just going to solo this layer. So it sounds quite dead. But when I turn the gate off, you get the extra part of the sound that I don't want. The extra part of the sound I don't want, I've actually committed to another layer. So yeah, that's the purpose of this gate. And then let's A/B the EQ. I'll turn the snare roll off. See, so when I turn it off, it sounds like again, it sounds like a full snare. But that's not what I wanted. I just wanted to layer these two. They're like very similar in characteristics, but together they sound like a lot more apparent. Like with the higher end, and not like anything below like around 100 Hz, where all the power tends to be in a snare. So I actually just like the characteristic of this snare, so I just laid it in. Like, especially with music production, like, don't be afraid to think outside the box. If you think it sounds good together and you can't really think why, just put it in and work with it. That's kind of how you get your own sound, by literally just continuously experimenting. Let's turn the EQ off. So yeah, I really wanted to take the power out of these snares and leave that to its own layer, which is the last one next. But it sounds really like apparent. I've said that a few times, haven't I? Let's turn all the EQs off. I feel like they're the most affecting part of it. Let's turn them back on. So you really hear the fundamental. The fundamental really sticks out. And then I've got like multiples of the fundamental to kind of to kind of make the fundamental stick out by having multiples of the fundamental boosted. Last layer. And that's where all the power is in this layer. And it sounds more forward. So we still got the group chain to work with, so it may not sound quite like together yet. I know they sound like a lot of samples put together, especially since I just muted and unmuted them. But let's go through the sound. So here, instead of minus 10 dB, I've actually turned it up a bit, so minus 5, just because I felt like it. I felt like this should be a lot louder as a starting point. Remember, this is as a starting point. So I've still got headroom at the end. But here I've actually boosted quite a lot because I really liked how much power this was giving, and I wanted to turn that up, so that's why this is at the end. But I've got a compressor on this one. That's quite different from all the other sounds I've showed, all the other layers. But let's mute it. But let's just do the layer. So yeah, it's literally just a kick. So here's where the fundamental is on the fundamental is on all the other snares. So I just turned it down around that area for this layer. In fact, maybe I should do that. Turn it off. So I feel like the snare really sticks out a bit more once I save room for the fundamental area of the snares. So yeah, it sounds a bit too much. It sounds like everything's colliding together when I turn this off. And I have to admit, I really notice the space I'm giving, even though I'm not doing much here. I really notice this layer giving space to the other layers. Alright, let's go to compression. Alright, this is doing a lot, and I like what this compressor's doing. So here, the attack is on pretty much 0, so the compressor acts straight away as soon as it goes above the threshold here. And then I'm compressing it quite a lot. And then it goes back to 0 gain reduction after 21 milliseconds. So I'm basically just taking the transient out. I'm almost limiting the transient. so the snare comes through a bit more. So you've got the transient of the snare going through because I'm taking the transient out from this compressor. Let's A/B it. So yeah, the transients are just colliding a bit too much. That's why I added this compressor. Then I turn it up. Maybe it's a bit too much. But again, this could have been something I added later. Maybe I could have been going through the drop, and then I start to lose the snare once I add other elements in. So I turn this part up to maintain its power. But we still got the this chain to go through. And you can hear it's like a lot more controlled. Like that sounds really like a lot messier. Wow, I actually really like what this chain's doing. So here I felt like it was too loud, so I turned it down even further than minus 10 dB. Here again, I'm being picky with the frequencies. Just to add more definition. But this is a mid-side EQ. And as you can see, so I'm on the sides part now. This is the grey. This is the sides. This dark grey. And again, like I've done with the kick, I've taken all the sides of the low end just to make the lower end of the snare sound central. Hence, or making the whole sound as a general, making the whole sound in general sound a lot more central. Okay, the compressor. So I've set this compressor a bit different. So it compresses slightly later. Compression's a lot less, so even though the threshold's all the way down here, not much gain reduction is affecting the sound. So what I like to do is when I set the threshold of a compressor, I like to have it towards the RMS here. So as you can see, it's light green, then dark green. So I like to have it near the line. Because the line, like the RMS is, that's where you're mostly hearing the sound. That's what you're hearing pretty much. Especially in a kick drum, where the transient only happens like very quickly. And that's like the darker part of the green area. So in other words, I'm actually compressing the transient, and it gives me room to turn it up if I want to. And it also makes the kick sound a bit tighter. Oh, why don't I just A/B it here for yourself? I should do this really. So you can really hear the tail come out a bit more. Because I've lowered the dynamic range, so the transient goes, is kind of flattened slightly, and I've turned it up. Here, I've turned it up by 3.6 dB. So the transient's flattened, and then the whole thing's turned up, so you hear more of the tail. So yeah, lower dynamic range, and it makes the kick stand out a bit more by turning other parts of the kick up. Whew. Okay. So, another technique similar to earlier. So back to Chrome. So here's the key is in F sharp, 92 Hertz. And here I've set R bass. This is like a bass algorithm thing, so you set the Hertz value and then it does some algorithm and then it adds more bass to your liking. But I didn't do it to the fundamental tone. I did it to double the fundamental tone and added a bit more bass, I guess, since this is R bass. So it's to make it stand out a bit more without really affecting the sound. That's really what this plugin does. I'm going to A-B it. Off. So it's very subtle. So yeah, it really makes the kick more powerful. So it's noticeably more powerful. I'm barely adding anything. So yeah, this is the original sound, and then this is what it's adding to the sound. Or maybe not. Wait, no, this is the... Let's just... Oh yeah, it's actually... in fact, it's not actually... You can't actually see it in the meter. And then I've re-leveled it at the end. Oh yeah, but I've added this as well. So I've turned the sides up here. But this isn't ruining the sound because I've actually controlled the sides back here. So there's no low-end sides. There's no low-end stereo information to ruin the sound. So whatever's left of the sides is being affected here. It's turned up. But everything here is mainly in the center. But let's A-B it. So like, look how much width that's getting, and it still sounds central, just from adding like a few dB on the sides. It's amazing what you can do with just loads of little effects. Ooh, let's do one more A-B because I really like what this chain does. That sounds so much cleaner.
One jump down.
He's jumping down.
He's swimming around the island. It looks
He's
like.
trying to banana.
Where's the... Are they both here? Like...
There's another one in the water. He's going on
He's
to
dead.
the island.
Yep.
I killed the one that jumped into the water.
Oh, he was lying down in the back. He just emoted.
Well, there's one in the